Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Manan, and yeah, I've been away for a few while now. I live in Nepal, if you didn't know, and I think you all knew by watching the news and stuff that a lot of things were happening in Nepal, and this is why I I didn't have time or like the motivation to record any video or even even play the game at all actually. So yeah, and now the things are getting a bit better, so I guess I will be back to playing it more and making more videos. Yeah, so an update is that I have a lot of videos in plan, like a lot of you have requested different sort of videos, and I think a lot of those ideas, most of those ideas were like really interesting. Some of them were just like fun joke comments by my friends, so I will ignore them for now. But if you are serious, just DM me in Discord, and maybe we will work on those. So today I want to just talk about resistance, and maybe in the background I will just have a few fights. By the way, this group is really difficult. I don't know how I got in this group, but imagine chipping at number 12. This is a really difficult group. Yeah. So I actually want to talk about. I think at first I want to talk about resistance here. So while we are searching for opponents, let's see. For example, one of my resistance from one of my troops. So let's say this one. So I have this much magical. Okay, let's fight. So basically you saw I had like 1000 million, or I'll say a billion resistance on magic and 1.5 on physical side, right? So and then you guys might have noticed the resistance it showed was just 99.99. Right, so it looks like the 99.99 is the max value, but the thing is, resistance never stopped growing. Whenever you get more and more values, it keeps growing more and more. For an example, you might see 99.9% resistance, but then some people will have 100 million resistance, and some will have 200 million. So yeah, so important thing to understand here is no, resistance don't stop growing. Come on, why can't I cast Avril? Stop getting stunned, man. Yeah, let's do this and this and maybe this, so that our Nora gets full ammo. Oh, maybe this as well, and let's do this. Yeah, so resistance never like stop growing. What happens is the way it's calculated is a bit unintuitive. Actually, it is intuitive if you understand like what the numbers mean, but if you don't, you might like don't understand, and yeah, get confused like why this is so bad, right? So I want to give you an example, but yeah, so try to keep this like visualize this in your mind. So for an example, let's say I have one feature. We have to kind of isolate this into one specific feature so that like we can understand the idea behind it. So let's say I have one feature, and that feature is, say for example, giving me 90% resistance, right? We can assume that feature to be covenant. Let's say this first covenant, this somehow gave me, or like we can just even imagine this, right? So let's say this just gave me reduced damage taken, nothing else, and it says 90%, right? So now what happens when you when you have 90% resistance is whatever damage your mechs are taking, it will be reduced by 90%. So that is what it really means, right? Like reduced damage taken. So now try to understand what it means in terms of numbers. Let's assume a very simple example, right? So a very simple example could be our mechs. Let's say they, instead of having 1 billion health, let's just say they have 100 health, right? Just 100, nothing else, 100 HP. And let's say the enemy, there's just one unit enemy, and it is hitting our mech, and let's say it has 100 attack. Let's not assume any more than that, just 100 attack. So that enemy would one-shot our mech, right? Because its attack is 100 and our HP is 100. And the attack value is not exactly, it's not the number is not exactly the amount you do per hit, but it's more, it's a little bit different, like how it's shown here. But for us, what's important right now is let's assume that one hit just deals damage equal to 100 HP. And since our mech only had 100 HP, it would be one shot. But remember, we had 90, in this example, we assumed 90% resistance, right? Let's just think about physical and magic, right? So 90% resistance. So it will reduce our damage by 90%. So what is 90% of 100? Because 100 was the incoming damage, right? So it's 90. 90% of 100 is 90. That means only 10 damage will be taken by mech. You understand this, right? So mech had 100 HP, and the damage was being the damage dealt was gonna be 100 HP. But since it now had actually 90% resistance, it will only take 10 HP as the damage. Let's assume that there are no metals, there are no healing, like nothing else, like no other features. In that case, it will take 10 hits for that unit to kill that mech, right? So basically, when you got 90% resistance, you got 10 times stronger, right? Because like you need to get hit 10 times. So that should be easy to understand. Now the challenge comes where we add more resistance. Now say for example, and now this is where the confusion comes, right? So you already have 90% resistance. Now say for example, from a different feature, let's say from, in this case, let's say from armory, right? From armory, the troops, let's say they got 90% resistance again. So from Covenant 90, from armory 90. So what is supposed to happen, right? Like 90 and 90, 180% resistance, like reduce damage taken. I mean, that doesn't make sense, right? Like if you reduce damage taken by 100%, it means your unit will not take any damage at all, right? So that shouldn't be possible. So what it actually means is, so you got one resistance from your Covenant, right? And then another from some other feature, maybe a gear or whatever, right? In this example, I just said, like, let's say another source, right? So we had 90, and this new 90 basically means it reduces the remaining, it reduces the damage taken, but from the remaining portion. So any remaining damage it was supposed to take, it reduces 90% from that again. Now let's get back to our example, our easy to understand example, right? So I had, I said, let's assume I had 100 HP, and the attacker has 100 attack per hit. Let's say it damages 100 SP per hit. So instead of 100 SP with 90% resistance, we would get just 10 damage, right? But let's say we added another 90% resistance from, in this example, armory. That remaining 10 damage will also be reduced by 90%. So what is 90% of that remaining 10 damage? It's 9, right? So when you subtract 9 from 10, what do you get? You get 1. So your mech will only get 1 damage. So basically from 100, if you add 90% resistance and then again add another 90% resistance, you are gonna get
1 as the damage, which is just 1% of the origin value, right? So which means you are, when you combine these two 90%, you are actually reducing your damage taken by 99%, because it reduced your damage taken by 99 HP, and now you are only taking 1 damage. So now it will take 100 hits for your mech to die. So you understand like how much difference is from going from 90 to 99, right? Basically you need to be hit like 10 times when you only had 90% resistance, but when you had 99% resistance, which was like from combining to 90% resistance, now you will have to be hit 100 times instead of 10. So it is like 10 times stronger. So 90% resistance, like DR was 10 times stronger than not having any DR, and 99% DR is now 100 times stronger than not having any resistance, right? Or basically 10 times stronger than 90. So that is the key. Now you understand how powerful it can be. Now let's say, okay, how much stronger is 99.5% resistance? Mind you, it's 99.99 and it's like beyond that. But let's just assume how, let's just do our, like, try to do a homework, you know, some brain, you know, work on this. You can try adding 3 or 4 99 per, you know, 90% resistances, let's say from 4 different sources, and try to see like what value you get. Try to add like you know, higher HP values or higher attack values, so you can do the math easily now, because when you start getting to, you know, higher than 90% like multiple times, you will start getting values in points, like this point, that you know, so you'll get in decimals, and that might be difficult to calculate. So just to make example easy, in my case, let's just do, I want to just show you, you know, 3 90% resistance is stacked. So let's do the calculations. Let's start with the same number, 100 HP and 100 attack, right? 100 damage per attack. So 100 HP, when you have 90% resistance, the damage would be reduced to 10 HP. When you add another 90%, the damage will be reduced to just 1 HP, right? So when you had 99% resistance, you will only get 1 damage. Now think of it like this: when you have 99.5% resistance, how much HP would you damage? It's just half of HP, right? 0.5 HP. So when you had 99, you were getting 1 HP damage. When you have 99.5, not much, right? It's not 99.9 or 99.99, it's just 99.5. You are only getting half HP damage. So half HP damage is literally just half of what you were getting damaged when you had 99, right? So your resistance is actually doubled. So going from 99 to 99.5 means your resistance is doubling, because instead of taking 1 HP damage, you are only taking half damage, right? So see, just that now the resistance value start showing small increase, but the actual impact is so huge. So you are literally double as, you know, strong as you were before. So that is the strength of resistance. And now, so since you know that, now you will understand why a lot of you know, this feature, you know, basically, yeah, you can say features, they are important. For example, let's say our Lorus is a new hero. I just got it yesterday. So if you check this, is it this? No, this one. Yeah, Feral Instinct. So see here what it says: damage dealt by Lorus and the all bear increases all damage taken by the target by 10%. So understand this, 10%, and increased damage taken from here is like yeah, I mean, I was gonna comment at this later on, but for now just say this, taken by the target by 10%, and it goes up to 4 stacks. So that is 10%, and then 10% on top of that, and then 10% on top of that, and then 10% on top of that. So you are making the target take more and more damage with every attack. So you understand now why this is strong, right? You are reducing their damage resistance. But that this also means, like, if you are defending against it, your 99.9% resistance actually gets reduced a little bit, and then a little bit again, and then a little bit again, or it's maybe the resistance is not reduced, but the final calculation where, like, after taking resistance into consideration, they decide how much HP you are gonna get damaged, right? But this means you will get a little bit more damage than that, so because it is increasing damage taken by you, right? But then now let's focus on this second part, which is what you get after awakening this ability. Is it also increases damage taken from heroes. So now this is a hero itself, and if you put him in your power side with other heroes like Avril, like your Irion or Lee, all these Tishavan, Jacques, Nora, so all these heroes, like they love damaging your enemy, right? So now if this hero is in that side and is making the enemy take more damage, imagine how much damage the target will take when it's coming from all your DPS heroes. So this is the power of resistance and the stacking. There is another example which is valid for all the basically all the rogue and mechanist heroes. So if you go to your hero research, by the way, it's recommended to get this as soon as possible after you get your T16. So 16 is like it gives you more levels. I think it is T20. Yep. Okay. So T20. So this one, the final effect, if you check here what it says critical hits made by your rogue and mechanist heroes also deal physical damage equal to 2% of your target max health. So remember, it is talking about target max health. It's not talking about your just the damage. It reduces it the damage. It depends on your enemy's max health. So what it means is, it doesn't, it might matter a bit, but it somehow bypasses the resistance calculations, let's say that. So basically these kind of things can bypass resistance. It might not actually bypass the resistance, that there is like a lot of things happening behind the scene, how this is calculated, and even I don't know exactly all these things, how is it calculated. There are other people who do all this kind of testing, and they might know better, but this is like a general lesson for you. When you are trying to be strong, find things, I'm sorry for my puppy. So try to find things where you don't see, you see something that says something percent of your max health. When it deals damage like that, this is very strong. And if I go back to the hero that I was showing you, Lorus, yeah, it is here. And if you check his ability, this one, so see, it is split attack. Like split attacks cause the target to enter bleeding state. So when the attack is split, the target enters bleeding state, and then it starts dealing magic damage equal to 7.5% of target max health over 5 seconds, of course. So like it's per second, it might be a little bit less than 7.5%, but you have to understand it can stack. So each split attack will stack this number. And if you see here, so it says at the start of the battle and every 10 seconds after that, Lorus gains a 5-second split effect. So within that 5 seconds, it will split the damage as like multiple damage, and then 3 or whatever the number is. Like you I think you need to awaken it to get the not this one. Yeah. Maybe not, like I think maybe you just need to get it to level 11 or something. Yeah, anyways, so this is what helps it to split the attacks, and this one just deals damage in like SP percentage, and at the same time I think this also keeps debuffing them, your enemies, so that your other heroes can deal more and more damage. There is another example of, so like if you remember your mechanist and rogue, heroes like Rora, Jacques, your Jazz, like all these heroes, basically they, when they score critical hit, they will do the percentage SP damage. So now you might understand why it is good to have more critical rate for these kind of heroes, right? So yeah, try to think of these kind of combinations, and you will see you will be dealing more and more damage. But the thing is, you have to understand the resistances, how they work, right? Like we just talked about it, how what 99% means, 99.9. So what that does is, like, it basically helps your team survive against like basic, like non-special attacks, which doesn't have that special effects of like reducing damage or scoring percentage, max health damage, stuff like that. So you have to understand that, but after that you have to understand all these different ways to increase your damage and make sure you are dealing as much damage as and as fast as possible to your enemies. So yep, I think this video is already so long. Yeah, if you have any specific questions, feel free to leave down in the comments, and maybe in the next video or a little bit later on, I will also talk about like how you actually you kind of think of making formations for your PvP or events, so that you can use these kind of buffs, combination of these kind of buffs, so you can deal as much damage as fast as possible, or be strong enough to defend against those kind of damage from your enemies. And yep, I think that is it for this video. But yeah, as always, I want to say, please like, comment, and subscribe. But like, let me emphasize how important that is, especially for me. So Art of Conquest is a small community, and this channel is small. So when you like something, it will mean that you want to see such contents more, and that is not just a message to me, but also a message to you. So now it starts showing you more and more useful contents to you regarding this game as well. And when you subscribe, it means like you are serious about watching such kind of contents, that you are even subscribing, right? So yeah. And finally, comments, of course, it's a way for you guys to connect with me, and for me to understand what the community actually wants, right? Like what kind of videos they want to see, what kind of contents they want to just see me dwelling with, and yeah, other stuff. Maybe you don't agree with something I said, right? So this is your way, your place to just leave that feedback to me. So yeah, so that is it, and until next time, I will see you later. Bye.